Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday morning, the last day of this year's 2024 National Honey Show. So welcome to everyone here at Sandown Park. We have with us Jacques van Alpen, who is about to give the final of his 3 lectures here at the show, 9:15 this morning. And also later on, we've got a lecture from Thomas O'Shea-Weller on VESP AI, applying deep learning to the detection of invasive hornets. Dan Etheridge will be talking about the Tropilolaps mite, and Roger Patterson will be reflecting on his years of beekeeping. We also have a parallel series of beginners lectures, an excellent programme for you here, starting today at 9:30. And those include lectures by Martin Smith, James Donaldson, Emma and David Buckley, and Steve Riley. So, Jacques, tell us about your lecture this morning. And you've already given 2, and I gather that they actually link together in subject matter. And by the end of them, we'll know the answer.
Yeah, today I hope to place the crown on the whole construction. Today's lecture is about explaining what has happened to all the breed bees in Europe, because there is sort of a mystery. I tried in the first lecture already to point out that it's odd that in North America and in Western Europe, bees do not become easily resistant against varroa mites by natural selection. And so I always thought, well, this is a trivial problem because all what apiculturists are doing is trying to work against natural selection to prevent natural selection. But over the last years, after a lot of thinking and looking at data, I discovered that that's not the whole story, and that there is something in the genetics of bees that is important. And I will reveal today what that's about.
So I hope you can make it to Jacques' lecture, and if you miss it, then you'll be able to catch up during the year as these 3 lectures are published on our National Honey Show YouTube channel.
Yes.
But you're going to have to wait for the last one for everything to be revealed.
Yes. Also, I'd like to take the opportunity to say that I have published a book in English, which is published by Northern Bee Books, in which there are chapters covering everything I have also told in those lectures for people who can't wait.
Excellent. Well, we'll be talking more about that book later in the day, so we'll revisit that, and then that book will be available from Northern Bee Books.
Certainly, yes.
So they've got it on their stand today.
Yes, lots of them.
And you can also buy by post. And we also have with us Sarah Wyndham-Lewis from Bermondsey Street Bees. And Sarah, your book on planting for bees has been extremely popular and translated into many languages.
Yeah, 5 languages and sold well over 100,000 copies. But it's great because it means that people are wanting to plant. And, we're facing, way above our concerns with bees. We're looking globally at a decline in insects, which is disastrous. There's a lot of research going on at a lower level, a more specific level to all of us. They're looking at bees and the wider world of bees. And there's so many different lines of inquiry, aren't there? We were talking about this earlier. But the thing that all the scientists are saying is that as citizens, and particularly as beekeepers, we should be planting. And so when I started doing this 20 years ago, thinking, well, what shall I plant? There was so much conflict of advice. People say, oh, this is the top plant and that's the top plant. So I really had to start experimenting and logging and seeing what worked. So my first book was specifically about planting for honeybees, with the idea that we would offset the impact of our honeybees on the environment by planting things that they particularly like. Now, that is not wildflower meadows, that's trees and bushes and herbaceous perennials, and that's where we really should be focusing. So lots of advice in that book about those sorts of things.
Why trees and bushes?
They evolved alongside trees and bushes. And if you think about a bush as a small tree, and a herbaceous perennial is a very small tree, which gardeners would probably not enjoy me categorizing like that, we're actually playing to the things that honeybees, we know they'll eat anything. We know how adaptable they are. But if we can plant for them and focus them on the things they really love, then we're freeing up things for their wild bee compatriots who have to share the same resources, but have less ability to duck and dive about what they actually eat, because many wild bees are focused just on one or two species of plant. For instance, the ivy bee.
And
So,
as we've developed hybrids, etc., are there better varieties than others?
yes and no. I mean, a lot of the fancy multi-petal flowers are useless to bees, and the nectaries are bred out, and there's barely any pollen. So if you think about a pom-pom dahlia, it's window dressing. It doesn't help. But the normal daisy pattern of an old-fashioned dahlia with a good landing pad of pollen and stuff can be really valuable. But then you do get some cultivars. One of the ones which people can plant as much as they like of is a geranium roseanne. There's a whole sequence of geraniums.
This is the hardy geraniums.
The hardy geraniums, but that
pelargoniums.
particular system or series which come under the roseanne banner are fantastic. They're sterile. So you can't grow there's no growing them from seed. You have to buy the plants, but boy, do they feed the bees. So I think that it's a question of looking and researching. The RHS is great. They do have on their website lots of advice about things that are good for pollinators. And I'm often guided by that. If I'm uncertain about something, I will actually look it up on the RHS directory and see what they say about it.
And that's available online.
That's available online, yes, and you don't even have to be a member. You can just dive into that information. If you are an RHS member, you can get much more detailed information. But both of my books actually do give an enormous amount of specific information about what types of things to plant. And the second book, the Wild Bee Handbook, broadens the story so that people can understand a bit more about the fact that honeybees are not the beginning and end of everything in the bee world. In fact, they're 0.03% of the bee species on Earth are honeybees. So there's a lot of other work that we can do in supporting bees in the environment. And you don't have to be a brilliant gardener. You don't have to know the Latin terms for things. There's lots of ways to help. And that's how I started. I taught myself from scratch. All my family are gardeners, and I paid no attention to them when I was a child. I hated it. I just thought, oh, gardening's so boring. But once you've actually got a purpose and a mission in gardening, it starts to get really exciting. And I hope that's what I've put into these books. It's, come on, guys, have a go. Plant something.
Right. And you're holding a workshop this morning. It
This
starts
morning.
shortly.
It starts in about 2 seconds, yes. My workshops, I try and, the lovely thing is, this is now, I think, the 6th year that we've done this workshop. The people who've come have been so fascinating. So we're learning from each other. I've had foresters, I've had people who are managing big urban estates. And that idea that where people can exchange information, I think is really powerful for all of us. When no man is an island, are they?
Yes.
No woman is an island. We need to discuss things. We need to have things in sort of open forum. So I think that's where we're headed with this workshop.
Brilliant. So we've got a lot going on for you today, and we'll look forward to your lecture, Jacques, your workshop,
Thank you.
Sarah,
Thank you.
and we hope that you will all join us, if not today, online. And so don't forget to check in with our social media, like us, share our posts, and come along to the show next year.